this is Jana. I'm a dark fantasy artist and illustrator, and I've started a little series, I guess, of studies, of painting studies. I mean, they are painted studies, but not of paintings. They're studies of based on photos. They're nature-related photos I took in a natural history museum. And the first of those videos was about doing a sepia ink study, and the second one is going to be, this is the second one, by the way, this is the second one, and it's going to be a little watercolor painting of a barn owl. You should probably get some tea or coffee or something nice to drink, and maybe get out your own sketchbook, because, well, you're gonna watch somebody draw and mumble to themselves, so that's what it is. That's what you're gonna get. I'll stop rambling now. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for your attention. We all know it is precious in this day and age. Have a lovely day. Bye. I actually tried filming this one for a watercolor study, and yeah, I might have accidentally taken a photo instead of turning on the camera to take video. So let's work on another watercolor study. Oh no, how awful, I have to paint my watercolor. So I picked, instead of this stag, a little barn owl. Again, from the references I took at the Natural History Museum in Potsdam last year, 2 years ago, I'm not sure. It's a really nice little natural history museum. And it's usually quite empty. I mean, it was when I was there. It's very cheap admission. So yeah, it's a really nice place for just drawing, sketching. If you ever find yourself in Brandenburg, it's definitely just want to go to a natural museum to sketch. I think it's better than the one in Berlin, simply because there's less going on there, less people. Best thing about the Natural History Museum in Berlin is the minerals collection, honestly, so yeah, okay. That's not what this video was supposed to be about. Anyways, I am just sketching the rough shapes for the barn owl and trying to get a decent composition on paper. I mean, I'm using the same pose as the reference, so that's already a lot of the composition decided on for me, but I want to see that it works on the paper as well. Okay, what I love with barn owls, you have these very nice clear shapes in the face. So I've picked a color that is also found a lot in the owl's plumage and in the picture itself. I absolutely did not get this shape right. It's much more elongated. Although, so this is the head, right? That's fine. This is too far now. It's more like this. I mean, if you want to use a brush for your sketch, make sure you pick a light color so you can rework a lot. Okay, this is roughly correct, I think. Roughly. And this is chest belly. Having leg. And talons. go. So she is holding a little mouse in her beak. A little claw as well. Okay. And the other leg is kind of behind the mouse. This is a bit stronger, more of a convex shape here. And the other leg behind this one. Go. And of course we have the wings. I'm going to keep them really rough because they're kind of leaving the paper anyway, so I don't think I'm going to do a whole lot there, apart from trying to get the general shapes right. Okay, actually kind of difficult to see on the paper. It's probably just going to be this area I'm gonna work on. Okay. Next, I'm going to add some color to the areas that I know are going to be generally darker, so I can be a bit more brave about adding some pigment there. Generally with watercolor you want to work from light to dark, so you don't want to end up dark color in an area where you think is going to be lighter later on, because you can always darken, but it's harder to brighten areas again. I mean, you can lift some of the pigment again, but it doesn't always work very well, and it's just easier to plan ahead. Now the wings are quite dark because the light is kind of coming from overhead, and this area of the wings is opposite of it, so they're pretty dark. They're kind of, I'll have a shadow here. We have the edge of her face. It's rimmed a little darker in this more reddish hue. And as well. Okay. And there's more of this protruding shape that I didn't have in the initial sketch, so I'm still using pretty light paint, so I'm adding some lines because I know it's going to get painted over anyways. Okay, and we have the eye, which is going to be quite dark. It's going to be the darkest area. Already trying to consider some of the textures. Legs are going to be quite dark. They're still in shadow. And this side of the body as well. There's some feathers. A bit more loose. Okay. This leg is getting some direct light, so it's gonna stay quite bright by comparison. Okay. That one is not quite correct, the shape. So it should be going more concave here where the eye is set in. Oh man. This. Well, okay, she's probably gonna get a background, so for now let's add some more of this light cream color. It's kind of our base tone for most of her body. So if it shimmers through somewhere, that's exactly what we want. I mean, the underside of her wings is actually white, but I'm not gonna work on this any more than this, so I think it's absolutely fine if I give it this color as well. Okay, so that's that. I think I want to add some more volume to her body, and for that I'll have to get some more of the shadow in. There's a slight reddish tone to that, and a slight purple in the shadows. So let's see. Yeah, I think that works. I think we can add even more. The purple. Can add some to her leg. There's a slight, well, there's a pattern in our plumage here, but it's very fine. I think for now I'm just trying to give it more of a grayish tint. And this area is a little bit brighter, so I'm leaving that out. And all of this adding some of that gray purple. I think it's, so I use some of the already available paint on my palette, so I kind of just dirtied the paint, and it's probably a blend of browns and blues and stuff. So I never clean my palette, I just kind of use the leftover paint. And that's a nice thing about watercolor, that you can always reuse it. I just dry it. Like that ink, once it's dry, I won't be able to use it again, really. Kind of sucks. Okay. So this is going to be the darkest area, so I'm adding a little bit of this blue. This is fairly highly pigmented, so it can get pretty dark. So I like to add it when I want to create a very dark tone. And these are really old watercolors. I got them, they were originally my mom's, and I'm still using them. You can probably tell it's very dirty. They're like 3 generations of pet hair, of fur just in there. It's disgusting, but they still work. And I like them just fine. It's not 100% correct, but it's fine. So I'm softening the edges a little bit here, and I'm adding more water and trying to lift some of the pigment off again, because it turned out a little bit too dark. And I'm also trying to use some of this pigment for this wing. Water. Needs to be quite dark. Just letting some paint bleed into that. Some wet painting, as it is called, I believe. I'm not a professional watercolor painter. I just play around, honestly. I don't know all the terms. Put paint here and hope for the best. Okay, there needs to be a little bit more red here. I'd like to soften this edge a bit. It's kind of weird because I want to keep this area really loose, and now here I'm like, oh, I need to get this right. Maybe we can add some more texture there. I think it's maybe because the pressure is really low to get this right. And I'm a bit scared of starting on the face, because that's, you know, what everything depends on. If I don't paint this well, then it's gonna suck. So I'm thinking this is just a really high contrast area, so I might be able to leave it like this and leave this entire area as it is as well, and just add in the face and maybe a little bit more shadow here. And it's still going to read really well, so I don't need to add any more detail here unless I really want to. And in part because I'm filming this and I don't want the video to be 3 hours or something, kind of thinking what's necessary here, what's actually necessary to turn this into a nice painting. Time is of the essence. But it also usually creates just a more interesting artwork if you leave some areas more open, and you, especially if you work with watercolor, right? You can do very controlled watercolor paintings if you're very skilled. But I mean, the beauty of the medium is that you have these beautiful textures and some freedom in the way the paint acts, and some loose areas, so you kind of want to keep some areas more open to let the medium shine. Okay, I'm not sure how much I'm gonna do on the legs, honestly. I think if I just get the silhouette right, that's gonna be enough. Just get her talons. Okay. That's nice. That might be fine. Now, as I'm already in this area, let's work on the mouse. Now we have the beak, just leaving it out. It's pretty hard to tell in the reference, but it's there somewhere in this area. I think I didn't get the angle quite right, but since she has her beak open, I think it doesn't matter so much. Just add some more contrast here. I mean, it's not about the mouse, so I'm not gonna get into detail. I love its little foot there, and the tail. It has two tails now because I'm choosing to go with a slightly different position with a darker paint. Okay, and also has this beautiful black stripe on its spine. Means it's a brandmaus. I don't know what it's called in English. And they're very pretty. So I'm gonna add that. The tone isn't quite right, but it's fine. I think it would need to be more neutral, and this is quite green, but because we have so many reds in her feathers, I think adding green to the shadow areas just adds a nice color contrast in there. So that's where your artistic decision making comes in, and you don't need to stick to the reference. We're never a slave to the reference. Okay, so now starting to add some more detail in this area. Yeah, Cat has, she has clearly ended her sleep in the morning sun and is up to no good. No, she's never up to no good, she just wants attention. Right? Yeah, you do, yes. Attention and food, that's what you want. Please, I cannot paint like this. Shoo, I cannot. I simply cannot. Just lie down or something. No. Yeah, well, yes, I love you too. Okay. If you sit down here, no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't dare. you wouldn't dare. That's why I don't paint in oils. That would never survive a cat. Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Thank you. This area is a bit darker, but I'm adding some bluish tones here. We can add some more purplish tones as well. Right, I think this needs a bit more purple. Okay, still dancing around the face. Oh God. Okay. Actually, I think this needs some additional color as well. Okay. She doesn't have a reflection in her eyes, so I'm just gonna add some darkness. And it's going to get a lot darker, so I can add the same value here because I know the eye is gonna be way darker too, and the color matches what I need already also. Okay. One thing I like about watercolors, it's a lot of drawing. You kind of, I feel like you add a lot of line work. I mean, at least in the way I work with it. It's a bit more like drawing than painting, but well, I guess it's both. Okay, we have a tonal shift in the shadow here. Adding a little bit more blue. And we have these very fine white feathers in this area. My brush is not the best for this, but I mean, I guess this is a very good tutorial on how far you can get with a really shitty brush. With the fine feathers, I'm working around them and leave them in the negative space. It's kind of what you need to do a lot with watercolor. You leave the lighter areas be because you cannot add them on top. So it's a lot of carving out shapes. And it's a look I really like a lot. And you have to be quite focused. I mean, you can work with watercolor in different ways, I guess. I'm trying to be quite realistic, but it's obviously stylized in some capacity. But there are folks who have way looser techniques. Way more abstraction and free-flowing colors. Because I'm a bit of a control freak, so I'm still trying to control my watercolor. I guess that's why I'm not in the greeting card industry. Okay, so we have her lid, which is a small detail. I really want to have in there. I think my camera just stopped recording. Wait a sec. So let's continue. I had to clean up the memory card a little bit to make room, and in this time the painting has probably dried a bit as well, which is fine. We have some really nice textures here now. And this was supposed to be in the shadow, and this is not really all that dark, but we have this nice blue pigment that just kind of actually works really well. Sweet. Let's continue. I might change my brush because now we get into the nitty-gritty. I'll just go for it. I'll just go for the dark eye, and for some reason I'm switching palettes. Okay. This is just a little travel watercolor set I bought in art school. Nothing special. It was cheap. I mean, comparatively cheap. Watercolor is just... Professional watercolor is just so expensive. Ridiculous. And I'm just blending lots of colors here in the hopes that they're going to be really dark. Okay. I think I wanted to have a little bit of a reddish tint, so let's add a bit more red. Okay. And let's see, trying to get the shape right and the size. I want to make sure that we keep her lid, because it's just a nice little detail. I feel like there are often just some details that kind of tell the viewer whether or not you've looked at your subject long enough, or that kind of add the touch of believability. Not necessarily realism, just making it believable as a creature. And to me, the eyelid just kind of sticks out as something like that. Even though it's quite in the shadow, so it probably wouldn't be an art crime to just ignore it. Okay, I'm trying to get the shape of her face right. Probably going to give her a dark background so I can get rid of all these first attempts. Okay. Making sure that we capture the other side of her face too. Okay. Just trying to get the details in there. This is probably one of the darkest areas, so I'm trying to get that in there too. This has some shadow, but it's not that dark, it's just darker than this area, for example, than overall I think, yeah, the face is actually in shadow apart from this ridge. I'm not sure yet if I'm going to incorporate that or if I'm just gonna let her face just be bright. Definitely going to add more shadow here, rounding her beak a little bit too. There's more shadow on the mouth. Make sure I get the shape of her face right. Oh, the kitten is needy. She would like to have lunch, but she has to wait over an hour. Yes. Yes. Trying to add some more detail here. Oh, who's a poor little kitten. Poorest, yes, is she? No, ouch, ouch, ouch. Ah, you're climbing my leg again. Yeah? You know how you get attention. You do. There's some feathers. Okay. I do like this. I think I want to add some detail to this shape, just a little bit, so we can tell what kind of material this ridge is made from. Because I'm not gonna draw every feather here or even get even further into the shading. I'm just gonna change the edge a little bit so we can see what it's made of. It's just a suggestion. I feel like a lot of drawings is about suggesting what's there and then letting the viewer's brain do the rest. I guess that's why I like horror illustration, because it's all about suggesting, just suggesting stuff. I mean, suggesting scary stuff mostly. Okay, I think I want to make sure we can see these feathers there, but they're gonna be visible because it's gonna get a dark background. Okay, and I think I do need a little bit more contrast here. Let's see how this dries. This might already be enough. And I think I want some more shape to the head so we can tell it's not part of the overall body. So we can maybe suggest a neck. So needs more. Yeah, I think it's mostly getting some shadow in here. So we can suggest this turn a bit. The reference isn't great at this because the lighting comes from the top, so we don't have any strong shadows here. But there are some, and I'm just going to make them a little bit stronger. Okay. There's one here too, but I think that would make things more confusing, so I'm gonna leave it like this. Now I can see if I want to add some of the detail of the feathers because they're very pretty, but the resolution of this painting might not be high enough. It might look a bit weird if I add them, but let's see. I'm just trying to abstract them a little bit. Because they're kind of round white dots with a black edge, but if you don't zoom in, they look more like little gray dots. So just trying to make sure the overall contrast doesn't change too much. Just suggesting that there is this pattern there. Okay. I think this is fine. Let's add a background. Let's see if my ink from yesterday is still... Ooh. Yeah, I think I can still use it. It's a bit gooey. That's fine. Mostly I just want a dark background for her face so I can define the shape a bit more. Because this is a light area. Okay. I don't want the background for the... Do I want the background for the wings? I don't know. I think it makes sense to have it at least until we hit the other painting. I mean, this is really dark because it has already dried so much. So that's actually quite nice. I'm using ink for this because it's just faster. Don't need to mix my watercolor and then wait for it to dry and then add another layer, and I think it's... So in my experience it's just really hard to get like a really dark color but with watercolor, but that might also be because I use very cheap ones and they just... Ooh, actually we would see some of her tail feathers here. I don't know if I like that. I would prefer to have... Yeah, we're just going to ignore this. This owl does not have tail feathers. I mean, she's dead, so I don't think she cares. I mean, she's dead and a drawing, so... Okay. So now we can see those feathers around her beak as well. I don't know, do I just... I think it would look cool for her leg as well. So maybe, but not for the entire wall. So I think I might okay, now I have to make sure I get the claws in there. Again, I'm carving at the negative space, making sure the silhouette looks right. Get the correct tail. This. Making sure, well, my underdrawing, my first sketch isn't quite correct, so I'll have to consider whether I want to try to change her talons or if I want to keep them as they are in the drawing. I think I'll just keep them the way they are in the drawing. It's simply not very detailed. Well, there's some shadows thrown by the mouse. Might add that one in there. Make sure it doesn't look weird. This is darker too. Maybe, because now the contrast is much too strong, right? So I'm taking it down a notch. And this looks weird, so I'm going to include the entire area here. Oh, that's way too much water. And now I've been a bit lazy about this. Okay. I need to focus. make sure I... Well, this talon is much longer. Never mind. Well, I guess I'll include the entire owl now. Okay. It's a bit... I actually like this edge. Like, to make sure I don't destroy it. Now it looks like she's backlit. I have to see, but I'm being extra careful because it's always easier to add some more paint than to undo this. So okay. Well, just a bit darker. It's not perfectly opaque, it's fine. Actually, I think I might leave that rough because it's a sketch, and let's just take this down so it doesn't look like she's getting backlighting. Okay, this can be darker as well. Okay. Actually, I still have ink left. Let's go for it. Okay. Try to... Okay, let's just call it a day. That's fine. Right. That's it then. Thank you very much. Oh yeah, now it's you time. I think I need to clean someone's litter box.